The idea of the Innovation Campus in Saldanha Bay has been brewing in our minds for years, and our passion to bring it to life remains unwavering. Our dream is that the Saldanha Bay Innovation Campus is a meeting of hearts and of minds, and collectively creating a better future for the local energy and maritime sectors. Our hope is that it evokes a fresh sense of possibility and inspires us to push beyond our perceived boundaries into the art of the impossible. Hi, my name is Adinda Preller, and welcome to the first episode of Innovate the Blue, a podcast hosted by the Saldanha Bay Innovation Campus, an initiative by the Saldanha Bay Industrial Development Zone. This podcast is where we will keep you updated on all things innovative in the global energy and maritime space. We are very excited to have you come along with us as we uncover all the hidden gems in our local industry and find new ways to work together to solve some of our most pressing challenges. Please stay with us for an exciting conversation about the Innovation Campus and how you can be part of this bold and audacious endeavor. Over the past 10 weeks, the Innovation Campus team has been engaging with a broad range of stakeholders in the energy and maritime sectors, both locally and internationally. The need for such a process were quite clear for us. 1. We can't do this alone. For the Innovation Campus to be a leading energy and maritime space in Africa, it requires all of us to work together. So we are engaging you to share our vision with the hope that inspires you to come along with us on this journey. And 2, we want to create value for all of those involved. We want to create a carefully curated and mutually beneficial network of players, where all of those within the network know why they are there, how they can contribute, and how they benefit. This means we need a good understanding of your needs as stakeholders and use this to inform us on what we need to do. So far on this journey, we have spoken to more than 50 stakeholders across academia, industry, government, and community. And we look forward to many more insightful conversations over the remainder of the year. With me today is our CEO of the Saldanha Bay Industrial Development Zone, Ms. Kaashifah Beukes, who will be joining me to share some of the insights we have gained throughout our stakeholder interviews. Hi, Kaashifah. Welcome.
Hi, Adinda. Thanks for having me here.
Kaashifah, for many of our listeners who may not have engaged with the Innovation Campus, can you please just tell a little bit more about the Saldanha Bay Innovation Campus and how all of this come together?
Good question. The idea of the Innovation Campus came about through research and studying other successful special economic zones, industrial development zones around the world. What we saw is that SEZs that thrive have these cutting-edge knowledge centers quite close to where the SEZ is as part of the offering of the SEZ. And they're important because they continue to create and seize opportunities in the market, in the sectors that they serve. And they do so then sustainably, effectively, and inclusively. When you are able to rapidly respond to shifting global trends and continue to find new ways to solve industry problems, you remain globally competitive. And so when in South Africa and looking at the Saldanha Bay IDZ, we understand that economic growth, transformation, and job creation can only be sustainable when it is competitive, and that innovation increases that competitiveness, but is only sustainable and effective when it is collaborative. So engaging with stakeholders as part of the first piece of work for the Innovation Campus was quite critical for us, as you've mentioned previously.
Kaashifah, that was a really useful summary for our listeners. For myself, during these engagements, I actually found there were so many aha moments. And I think for me, what stood out was just the energy that was in each of these discussions. And myself, I was very much encouraged by the eagerness of industry and academia and government to meaningfully drive industry growth and being willing to engage. One of our stakeholders actually mentioned that we are not short of opportunities. We just need to find a way to start directing our resources and our efforts to where they will have the largest multiplier effect. How did you find the engagements? Is there anything in particular that stood out?
It was certainly encouraging to see people being receptive to the Innovation Campus idea and project and open to engage on how they could collaborate with us and how they could get involved. There appears to be a strong appetite for forward-looking discussions, which is very meaningful and important for me because we need to shift perspectives and identify new opportunities. But fundamentally, we need to help build trust. And I think what you mentioned about, start directing our resources, it starts with trust between stakeholders, between people, as a foundation for that possible collaboration.
We want to create a thriving energy and maritime sector, and quite a number of stakeholders wanted to know exactly what it is that we would focus on within the energy and maritime sectors. What was your thoughts on why we are casting the net so wide with energy and maritime at this stage? And what is that we intend to focus on in the future as the Saldanha Bay Innovation Campus?
At the IDZ, we cut across both energy and maritime, and sometimes they interlink. So we are well positioned to focus on both. And in terms of the maritime sector, I would say that programs have been established at the national and provincial level to draw investment and drive industry development in that area. And we know that the Innovation Campus will contribute to these efforts. But I find from the stakeholder engagement an increasing focus on energy. Perhaps because of the onset of the pandemic, it has fast-tracked conversations about decarbonization, to build back better, smarter, greener, and investing in those low-carbon technologies and solutions which will bring about that decarbonized economy. So I think the focus for the first part of the Innovation Campus will likely be in energy. And so it's important for South Africa's future that we focus on that opportunity. But fundamentally in our focus, whatever the focus is between energy and maritime, it must be industry-led because otherwise it won't go anywhere. It needs to be useful partnerships, collaboration, and invention that the market needs. So what this means is that we will likely work closely with business and society and government stakeholders to narrow down that focus further. And we think that key themes and focus areas will emerge from these continuing engagements.
Kaashifah, as I'm listening, the one key theme is, just to start off with, is innovation. And innovation will be at the heart of what we do and what we want to achieve. But we also know that innovation has become a little bit of a buzzword, and the definition has become a little bit subjective. So for our listeners, what does the innovation in Saldanha Bay Innovation Campus mean to you?
For me, it's about solving problems that have meaning, that use the limited resources that we have, that prioritizes principles of inclusivity, lower carbon technologies and lower carbon economies, and sustainability. And so in the Innovation Campus, what one hopes to find is new ways of applying these technologies in our sector, and supporting the development and commercialization of these technologies. We also want to support the small, consistent, incremental change, because sometimes it doesn't just happen in a big bang, that builds efficiencies in the system. But what is fundamentally important to us is that all of these advancements in technology and process and engineering and whatever is undertaken in the Innovation Campus, it always continues to uplift and integrate the society of Saldanha Bay, the communities that exist there and that will benefit from, for many, many years, hopefully, from the Innovation Campus.
Sure, Kaashifah, we actually have a big, bold task in front of us for us to support innovation effectively. And for that, we're going to need an ecosystem of players that will need to work together to ensure that all of these ideas turn into reality. And it immediately makes me think of an African proverb. It says that if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, you go together. And that brings us to the concept of clusters. And from what we know is that when it's done right, clustering has proven to unlock opportunities. Throughout the engagements, one of the themes that we picked up was that a lot of the stakeholders expressed interest in collaboration and realized the value that it can bring. Can you tell us a little bit more about what is a cluster? How do we go about collaborating? And why do you think this is a great way for the Innovation Campus to create value for its stakeholders?
Good question. A cluster is a network of different organizations who decide to work together in promoting innovation and creating that network of support to attract investment in and advance their ideas for the benefit of the cluster members and the wider industry and the region. They achieve this through internal resource mobility, which involves intense networking and trust building, sharing of facilities, frequent exchange of knowledge and experience, and creating a strong independent brand that acts as a magnet for more talent. Although our industry is small, it is quite fragmented. That came through from the stakeholder engagements. They expressed a need to bridge the gap between various stakeholders for the benefit of the broader industry and community. So they recognize the need to shift their way of approaching the way they interact with each other. Central to that was identified is the need to have a shared vision and an action plan. So follow through on that vision to grow the industry and recognize, similar to us, that in order to create that thriving and energy maritime industry and sector, we will all need to play a role.
I guess then there's clusters and then there's clusters, meaning that some succeed and some don't. In your mind, what do you think actually makes a successful cluster, and especially to what we want to achieve with the Saldanha Bay Innovation Campus?
Yeah, you have clusters and then you have clusters. I think in some of the clusters that we've seen and in the comments from the stakeholders, the ones that really go far and that go deep are the ones that have multiple role players involved in the cluster. So not just business around the table, but government, business, academia, and society. It's what is called a quad helix approach. This works best to build trust, a vitally important component of going anywhere, so that they can collaborate and compete where appropriate. And in order to build that trust, they need to engage often and constructively. Lastly, the cluster only works if the members work. It needs active participation from all of those involved. No one can sit back and hope to rely on somebody else picking up their slack. But we invite you to come and learn more with us at an upcoming webinar, which is going to be focused exactly on clustering. And I'm sure that you'll tell the listeners a bit more about that.
Yes, Kaashifah, it's actually one of the new exciting things that we're launching as part of the Innovation Campus. And our first webinar series will take the form of a panel discussion. And the first topic, and this is quite a big and bold topic as well. It will look at co-creation and exactly what is clustering and how do we take it forth as a collaborative approach in a way that we can solve the most, I would say, pressing challenges for industry, and then to unlock opportunities from that. And then I think from that, we're very much, as you mentioned, we're looking for rich discussion to follow from it, and then to leave with a clearer idea of what is required from each of us to make a cluster work. For this particular dialogue or webinar that we're hosting, we're going to have different panel speakers from different clusters in renewable energy and mining and ocean technologies. And our guest speakers is quite a broad scope of industry, from international entities to our own local clusters. So examples that will really serve our need in the Saldanha Bay Innovation Campus. Kaashifah, that brings us to the end of our discussion today. And I just want to thank you for being our first guest, and I'm sure there's going to be many more podcasts that we're gonna have. To our listeners, I want to thank you for taking the time today to listen to this podcast and being part of a first of the Saldanha Bay Innovation Campus, as well as in the energy and maritime sector in South Africa. I hope that this discussion has sparked some new and fresh ideas for each of you. If you have any thoughts or questions on this episode or any ideas for future podcasts, please send us an email at innovationcampus@sbidz.co.za. Until next time, let's innovate the blue.